Tuesday, American time, Wednesday hours, Americans are going to vote in the midterm elections. And this is huge because these elections could see the Democrat Party of President Joe Biden lose control of both the House of Representatives and the Senate. That would absolutely cripple Biden's agenda. And if Donald Trump's hand-picked Republican candidates win, most or all of them, he's going to have a great platform to announce that he'll stand for president again in the elections in 2 years. That announcement's likely within days. He's campaigning very hard.
If you want to stop the destruction of our country and save the American dream, you don't hear too much about the American dream over the last 2 years, then this Tuesday you must go out and vote Republican in this giant red wave.
Joining me from Dallas, Texas, and at 2 a.m. in the morning, I didn't realise, I'm really embarrassed, is Sky News presenter James Morrow, who's also the Daily Telegraph's National Affairs editor. James, I'm so sorry to keep you up so late. You look bushy-tailed, so that's pretty good. How is this contest looking?
Andrew, always a pleasure. Well, look, it's looking very good for the Republicans at this point. Some models have the Republicans picking up as many as 4 seats in the Senate. Every model has them picking up the House of Representatives. I reckon they're going to go to about 52-48 in the Senate, which still means they can stymie the Biden legislative agenda, advance legislation of their own, but also, crucially, advance investigations once they have the charge of various committees into the Biden administration, into Hunter Biden, into potential corruption, and all sorts of things. So it's going to create a lot of problems for the Democrats if the Republicans do as well as the polls are saying. And of course, also, if the Democrats really cop a hiding here, it's going to start some real internal discussion within the Democrats as to whether they force Joe Biden to say, I'm out after one turn, and start to determine who their successor, what their succession plan is going to be for the Democrats for 2024.
Oh, that's very big. You know, look, when you say the investigation into Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, misusing his father's connections to get very lucrative contracts in Ukraine and in China, with one email saying that, you know, percentage to the big guy, presumably his father. I don't like this tit-for-tat business, but the Democrats could hardly complain after all those pathetic investigations based usually on nothing against Donald Trump when he was in office. That sort of invited payback.
Yeah, look, I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of an element of that in any sort of investigations that come down the pike. But I think the Republicans will have to be very careful that they stay focused on the elections that are currently winning them the election. And that means crime, cost of living, inflation, the southern border. That is what we are hearing over and over on this tour. This is what is making Democrat heartland states now vulnerable. This is why when Joe Biden goes to campaign in Pennsylvania, he only goes to Philadelphia, which is very Democratic, why he's going to New York but not to other sort of battleground states, because he doesn't want to tip the balance away from the Democrats. That's how unpopular his administration is. I think they need to retain the focus on those sorts of issues, because that's what the majority of Americans are going to be concerned about, not just, you know, those who are really, really into politics and who really, really, really don't like the Bidens.
A very good point. James, there's many bizarre contests in America. It's just unbelievable to me. It's amazing enough that America has a president who often seems senile. But the contest that could decide which party controls the Senate is in Pennsylvania between a TV presenter, Mehmet Oz, backed by Donald Trump, and John Fetterman, who clearly hasn't recovered from a stroke. Here he is.
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Honestly, mate, that's the closest thing I've seen. It's a sort of political version of Weekend at Bernie's.
Well, I mean, except for Joe Biden himself, obviously, Andrew. But, you know, beyond that, though, the whole Fetterman campaign is absolutely bizarre. This is like, you know, Caligula appointing his horse to be a consul in the Senate in ancient Rome. This is just like they're daring people to say, hey, if you don't vote for us, you know, you're some sort of right-wing MAGA fascist election denier. That's what they're doing here. But John Fetterman, stroke and health issues aside, he's radically left-wing. He's a defund the police, release the criminals, end fracking, no matter what he said there kind of guy. And he comes from a rich background, and yet he gets around looking like a bikie or some sort of derelict or something like that. He's just a really bizarre candidate, and it's frankly an insult, I think, to the people of Pennsylvania that the Democrats have even put him up there.
Yeah, but it also says something about Donald Trump's lack of judgment, that some of his candidates are a bit odd themselves. In this case, Mehmet Oz, the guy running against Fetterman, has got so many problems with him that he's going to be lucky to beat him. He'll probably beat him, but only just. There should be streets ahead. How will Donald Trump come out of this election, do you think?
Well, you know, he will emphasize the big wins. So he's going to look at Kari Lake, who is almost sure to win the governorship of Arizona and who is potentially, 8, 10, 12, 16 years down the line, a potential presidential candidate. Frankly, I think she's that impressive. She is like Dr. Oz, another former TV presenter, a newsreader. I mean, how good for people like you and me, Andrew, that, TV presenters can go on and have another career in American politics. We'll see where this leads us. But so the focus will be on the really successful candidates, Kari Lake, people like that. But the other, of course, question is going to be, can Donald Trump mind his tongue and not keep attacking Ron DeSantis, who is very popular with a lot of Republicans we've been talking to all the way across Florida, Louisiana, and now Texas?
Well, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, a red-hot favourite to be the presidential candidate if it wasn't for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's already called him Ron sanctimonious. So, it doesn't look good there.
Well, that was yesterday, and then today, he gave a resounding endorsement of him. Trump was down in Florida today, and he said, "And you're going to, put back this great Ron DeSantis as the governor." So, I think maybe he floated that Ron DeSanctimonious thing, but I'm not sure that he thought that it quite landed.
I don't think it did, and we'd like to see a slightly different Donald Trump. The best bits emphasised, the bad bits lost, but I don't know if we could be that lucky. James Morrow, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.